Welcome. It is hour number 3 of Three Man Front on this Thursday. We've been following the court proceedings over in Pittsboro, Mississippi, Calhoun County Courthouse, Trinidad Chambliss, trying to get an additional year of eligibility. Of course, we're all becoming courtroom reporters after the Charles Bediako case last week, and now Trinidad, and then tomorrow Joey Aguilar. But we're actually going to talk some football. Chris Vannini joins us now on the Higginbotham Hotline from The Athletic, covers college football for The Athletic, joins us now on Three Man Front. Chris, I hope you're doing well on this Thursday.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right, Chris, I wanted to start off talking about North Dakota State because we've all been fans of the Bison for some time. Just what they've been able to do in the FCS has been extremely impressive. And then all the talk over the last couple of years of conference expansion, you always wondered, well, are they ever going to jump in the deep water in the FBS? And so it has happened. How surprised were you? Had you heard some rumblings that the Bison were on the cusp of coming to the FBS?
Well, it's something they've thought about for a long time. Obviously, you see James Madison and App State and Liberty and all kinds of schools move up. But North Dakota State's always had a geography problem. They're not near any other FBS schools, and that has always made them not a natural fit for anywhere, and it's why none of the conferences really were too interested. And then on top of that, it's also just a really expensive move, and it was going to take a pretty big commitment. But with the Mountain West kind of splitting off in half, and some of those teams going to the new Pac-12, the Mountain West has been kind of all ears on a lot of different possibilities, and this really seemed to pick up over the last couple of months or so, as North Dakota State was also able to fundraise a lot of money to go to it. Because it's not just, they're paying the Mountain West $12 million to join the league. You're also paying the NCAA $5 million to move up, and they're adding 22 scholarships. Like, this is a really expensive endeavor. But ultimately, the Mountain West was looking for additional football help, and North Dakota State's about as good of an addition as anyone could make.
You mentioned it, and because I immediately thought, Chris, when this announcement was made, and I drew the comparison of James Madison, we have been told by someone with intimate knowledge a pretty good idea of what James Madison, their commitment to NIL, their collective, kind of looks like, and it shocked both me and Pat. I was just wondering, North Dakota State, any idea what that commitment? I know they've been fundraising, but how much do they have built up there in the coffers, and what it's going to take even to play in the Mountain West?
Yeah, I believe there was some local reporting that about $25 million has been raised so far, and they're going to continue to do that. They raised a lot of money a few years ago when they built a new football building and stuff like that. So their budget is still quite low, as it is for most FCS schools that would move up, but there are commitments to increase it. I think it helps probably that you're going into the Mountain West and not the Pac-12, where probably have a better chance of success, and the more success you have, the more money you'll have. But like you see James Madison, they made the playoff this year. And the expanded playoff has really changed what is possible. And there's a path to do that. And I think North Dakota State fans had also gotten kind of bored, honestly. Like they were not selling out playoff games recently because they've won 10 national championships in 15 years. Other than the games against the Dakotas and the Montanas in the playoffs, there wasn't that much to look forward to anymore, and so everybody was kind of ready for a new season.
Chris Vannini from The Athletic joins us, covers college football, joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline here on Three Man Front. So you just talked about access, and that is one thing that we talk about every single day on this program, being sandwiched in between Alabama and Auburn's football programs is the college football playoff. We are currently at 12 for another season. Chris, if you were to look in your crystal ball down the road, do you think ultimately we land at 16? Do we stay at 12? Or do we take the Big Ten option and say 24? What do you think down the road?
Well, my personal opinion I wouldn't want to expand at all. I think 12 has been great. I think it's a sweet spot. I think it keeps the regular season important and all these things, and it makes a prestigious thing to make the playoff, and expanding it is going to change that. But both the SEC and the Big Ten have said they want to expand, so it's probably going to expand. I would still lean more likely as the 16 right now, but I also think the Big Ten is maybe thinking, let's see what happens when the SEC goes through a 9-game conference schedule and suddenly they have even more losses. Maybe then they might warm up to a 2014 field. There are people in the SEC who understand the idea of the 2014 model. It's just getting more teams in the playoff. And if you're the SEC, that's going to put more of your teams in. So why wouldn't you like that? So, like, I think the Big Ten is hoping the SEC comes around, and maybe they do, but I think it's more likely we continue more incremental expansion if we do that.
And kind of along those lines, but we believe that it's inevitable. We're going to get the split, the breakaway, Power Four schools leaving everybody else. Do you believe, Chris, at this moment we're any closer to that?
It's hard to say because, like, they've studied this before, and the problem with leaving the NCAA or whatever is that you then have to create your own NCAA. You know, you have to create somebody who's going to enforce rules. You have to create, you have to be ready to pay the insurance that comes along with that costs something like $10 to $20 million a year. Half of the reason the NCAA exists is just to be a legal shield for the big schools and the big conferences to kind of take some of the brunt of things. So it's not as easy as it sounds to do that. And what Charlie Baker has wanted to do is to let FBS football and maybe the top conferences go ahead and make your own rules and just do it within the NCAA and give them the power to kind of do that. I think he understands the frustrations that Greg Sankey sometimes has with the process, and he's open to doing that. I think simply breaking off and doing your own thing is a lot harder than it sounds logistically. The NCAA is just the schools, and it's there to enforce rules, run championships, and be a legal shield from lawsuits. And conferences and schools may not want to take that on themselves.
Chris, in regards to the transfer portal, we had the new calendar this year. Did you like it? Do you think it needs to be tweaked some more, or you think it's here to stay currently what it is on the calendar?
Well, I liked it better than it was before.
Right.
When it was transfer portal in December. I'm curious how things will feel after spring practice. What happens? Because we used to have a post-spring portal when guys who realized they weren't going to start probably could go in and go somewhere else. We're not going to have that this time around. Are guys going to try to unenroll and enroll at new schools? We'll see. I know the idea of changing spring practice has been talked about a lot, whether it's pushing it back, whether it's changing it to an OTA and let everybody kind of do what they want. I think it's more looking at a holistic group of changes, such as maybe the portal's a different time because spring's at a different time, and maybe signing day is at a different time. All of this stuff happening together at once, I think is more likely whatever happens next. But they're talking about it, the oversight committees. I think it's better than it was, but it's a collection of things that happened separately that need to change. Like once we moved signing day up to the early signing period, then you kind of got to untangle these things one at a time.
Chris, I know that you're monitoring what's going on there in the state of Mississippi in a Calhoun County courthouse with Trinidad Chambliss and his plight versus the NCAA. Got to get your feelings. How do you think the judge rules? I will ask that. And ultimately, do you believe that Trinidad Chambliss, given the evidence that we have, should be allowed to play another year?
I mean, I don't think should, just simply because he's played X number of years and they never submitted a medical red shirt and all that stuff. But will it happen? In these situations, the NCAA has more wins in court over eligibility than people think. People think the NCAA is just losing every single lawsuit. That's not actually what's happening. And so when the Charles Bediako thing happened with Alabama, I was surprised because state court is usually more favorable to the local team, but and that's kind of what the case is happening here. But there are basic rules, and Charles Bediako's is pretty clear. The guy left college football to go pro, and to come back is pretty clearly breaking the rules that have been applied consistently, and he was already making money in the G League. So it's like, that's why that situation was unique. With this, we've seen in a lot of these cases arguing whether or not a certain year should count or not. Diego Pavia got his extra year. The guy at Wisconsin got his extra year. I'm gonna guess Chambliss wins, but I won't be shocked if he doesn't.
Chris, in regards to a very early, we're in February, we get it, and we've put our own list out for the 2026 college football season, but just for the SEC itself, do you anticipate that the same olds, whether it's Georgia, obviously now with Lane Kiffin and Baton Rouge, Texas with Arch Manning coming back, Bama's got to find themselves who's going to be the quarterback moving forward in 2026. How do you think the SEC looks early on in the month of February in regards to 2026?
Yeah, I'm most interested in Texas because they really got some huge top-end guys in the transfer portal. Like Arch Manning played a lot better down the stretch of the season, and now he's going to have Cam Coleman to throw to, who came from Auburn. One of the best wide receivers, maybe the best wide receiver could be in college football next year. That should dramatically increase the ceiling because Ryan Wingo for Texas just did not live up to what they were hoping for. And then you get Hollywood Smothers at running back, Really Brown at running back. They've added some top-end skill talent there. And Will Muschamp taking back over as defense coordinator. Defense wasn't really a problem there, so I think Texas will be really good. With Georgia, I think you wonder basically like how far can Gunnar Stockton take you? He's been solid enough, but can he do the things that can win you the games? And then questions about Alabama. Going to be a young team. Didn't do great in the portal, so some interesting things going on there. But the league's going to be really competitive at the top, just like it always is.
Chris Vannini, always a wonderful visit, always a lot that you offer us and our listeners, and we appreciate you taking time with us today.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chris. Chris Vannini of The Athletic joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
When we come back, we'll give you the very latest from the Trinidad Chambliss case that is going on over in Pittsboro, Mississippi. Very interesting what has just taken place just a few moments ago. They have gone to lunch, but Trinidad's mom was on the stand. We'll tell you what she said and what the NCAA said to her. That's next on Three Man Front. Appreciate Chris Vannini joining us from The Athletic. If you missed that interview or the interview with Rob Pate, Rodney Orr, you can always download the Three Man Front podcast. Take us along wherever you go over the next couple of months. We're always live on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that each and every day.
Well, it's lunchtime, and the place to go is Big Whiskey's. They have great food of all varieties with a full menu. They've got great apps, salads, burgers, and steaks. Their full bar features unique cocktails, over 120 whiskeys, including whiskey on tap. They also offer different food and drink specials for each day of the week. They have happy hour, and the kitchen is open late every night. So go in and catch all the games, whether you're into college basketball or the Olympics, unlike Conrad, on the big screen. They're in the Stadium Trace Village near the Hoover Met, but they're also off of 280 as well. That's our friends at Big Whiskey's.
All right, so at 9:30 this morning, Trinidad Chambliss and his legal team entered the Calhoun County Courthouse in Pittsboro, Mississippi. I had a lot of people text me asking me, why is this in Pittsboro, Mississippi? Well, the NCAA operates in all 50 states. And since they operate in all 50 states, Tom Mars could have chosen any courtroom he liked. He just decided that Calhoun County, Mississippi was going to be the most, I guess, favorable in regards to the case. And so that's why it's in Pittsboro. Anywho, this morning you had a medical expert on the stand basically testifying that Trinidad Chambliss had not only a chronic case of tonsillitis through his time at Ferrara State, but he also had sleep apnea, which caused him multiple issues. The NCAA cross-examined and basically said that Trinidad could have had surgery, and in 2 weeks later, he could have been back on the field practicing, whatever the case may be. So that went back and forth. Joe Judge, an assistant coach at Ole Miss, he took the stand, and the NCAA, they objected to him being called an expert witness when it comes to offense and quarterback play in college football, and the judge agreed. The judge sustained the objection. So I'm sorry, Joe, you can't put on your business card that you're an expert when it comes to quarterback play or offensive play in college football, because the judge said you're not. Anywho, after that was over with, Trinidad Chambliss's mom went to the stand. And so Tom Mars and his legal team talked to Trinidad's mother and Cheryl Chambliss. And she went into detail about her son's sleep apnea, saying that it was serious, that at times at night she had to check to see if he was still breathing, that there were problems, not only with sleep apnea, but obviously his chronic tonsillitis. So the NCAA has an opportunity to cross-examine Trinidad Chambliss's mom. And for a point of reference, Taylor Askew is the NCAA attorney. If that name sounds familiar, it's because he was the one that could not get to Tuscaloosa, Alabama a couple weeks ago because of the weather, and he was the NCAA attorney that won against Charles Bediako. So he is over in Pittsboro, Mississippi, representing the NCAA.
Coming in on a one-game winning streak.
That's right. He's got a win streak. So he had an opportunity to cross-examine Trinidad's mother, Cheryl Chambliss, and he stood up and said the following: "Congratulations to you on raising an outstanding young man. I have no questions." So the NCAA takes the high road and does not cross-examine Trinidad Chambliss's mom. "Congratulations to you on raising an outstanding young man. I have no questions for you." And they broke for lunch.
A lot of theories on why they said that, but the first one that comes to mind is you got a good idea where this is going. You know what the ruling is going to be. Don't pile on to a young man that a lot of people would see as the victim and you the bad, big bad NCAA, even if they rule that he can play again.
Yeah,
that's my theory.
Be nice to mama. As a side note, though, I am curious. Like, did he ever wake up in the middle of the night with his mom? Like, would that not freak you out? You wake up in the middle of the night and you got somebody like, are you trying to smother me? Like, what's going on here?
And I know people who have suffered from sleep apnea, and it sounds horrible. And it can be scary.
Yeah, I have multiple family members that have it.
Just never thought we would be playing this out in a Calhoun, Mississippi courthouse, Calhoun County, Mississippi courthouse. And we're asking about what was the word?
Incapacitated.
Incapacitated.
Incapacitated. That was
that means.
That was the fun this morning because the NCAA was trying to get the medical expert to define incapacitated.
This town that they're in, Pittsburgh, Mississippi, what's the population?
I think around 137.
Okay.
What's the line like at the one diner?
No.
in the town
I've already
right
checked
now?
it out. So
Okay.
you've got looks like 3 restaurants. You got a Mexican place. You've got Lenny and Tenny's, and then Tonelli's looks like that's the spot.
Is that Italian?
No, but it's
Sounds
on West.
Italian.
It's no, it's not. You can get the.
Fragile.
I mean, just they got fish plates. They got the boneless pork chop plate, the brown sugar pork chop, grilled chicken
Ooh.
plate, hamburger steak, shrimp.
That's where I'm going.
A lot of different sides, sandwiches. No, everybody in that courtroom, they can find something on this menu. I just thought it was funny that they updated the menu 3 days ago.
I think
Oh,
they,
did they?
Knowing in
they probably
anticipation.
anticipated.
Yeah,
that
all
this
these
was gonna
folks
be
are coming in.
Oh yeah.
Make sure that menu looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the judge has hinted that he could come to a decision relatively quick. No, it shocks everybody.
Well, he's got that 3 o'clock tea time.
Well, and at least it's not like with the Bediako thing where it's a Friday afternoon, then you have to wait the weekend. You got it on
Yeah.
Monday, so hopefully at worst case we find something out tomorrow morning.
I wonder what this judge's typical work week looks like. He does not look like a spring chicken.
He's probably excited. He's like, let's get some real action for once. But yeah, watching the video of him, yeah, he's not. I think he's been doing this for a long time.
They are in lunch. They will come back to the courtroom at 1:30. And the first person in the box, Trinidad Chambliss. So I would imagine that after Trinidad, it's pretty much over in regards to any witnesses. Because you've already had your medical expert. Then you were supposed to have a quarterback expert, which was shot down as just talk layman's terms, that Joe Judge. And then you had his mom, and now Trinidad. So
See, I wonder, like, who would they determine as an expert in that area? Or is that just, they're just not going to play that
why
game?
didn't they call Lane Kiffin?
Well, that's what I was going to say. What if Lane Kiffin pops up
That's-
at the last moment?
That's why I want in some line of this questioning Lane Kiffin to come up as a part of the court record where Trinidad Chambliss has to say something. Like, Trinidad, was Lane Kiffin lying about your jersey being stolen?
Just like throw a
Yes.
question in there while he's under
Yes.
oath so he has to
Yes,
be
he
honest.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Team manager told me he told him to hide it. I just want something like
So how
that.
do you really feel about Lane Kiffin?
Robert Whitwell, I'm just trying to, is that the judge that they're dealing with, or is that the original judge that the case was assigned to and then they moved it?
I will try to get that name for you.
Not a big deal. But just thought it would be interesting to see who we're dealing with here. But he looks like a very engaged judge based on what I've been able to see.
Yeah, there were some moments of levity during the first half of the courtroom proceedings this morning.
That poor stenographer. She's like, oh, I needed a break.
Yeah.
Or is she still typing?
Maybe she might be trying to catch up during lunch hour.
Well, and my thought was looking at the judge, the lady typing that's probably, it's probably a little harder for her now, would be my assumption based on
If you turn
the
that
fact the
judge
judge looks about
around,
85 years
gave him a tobacco pipe with some vanilla tobacco, you turned him where the back of his head, and he was sitting on a bench at Brookwood Mall, he would be my grandfather.
it is Whitwell. He has a bachelor's degree from Delta State University. He got his law degree from Ole Miss in 1972. He was quarterback in the Northwest Mississippi Community College and inducted into the school's Hall of Fame back in 1996.
He was a quarterback.
He was a quarterback.
How interesting.
Mm-hmm. Former Governor Phil Bryant appointed Whitwell as the 18th District Chancery Court Judge in August of 2013. So he's been on the bench for 13 years.
All right, so he's in his 70s.
Law degree from Ole Miss in 72.
So it'll be 28 years plus another 25, 53. So he starts law school at 22.
So he's
We're gonna
75-ish?
say- Yeah.
ballpark.
Didn't look a day over. Living well.
Doesn't, well, never mind.
It's just clean living. which I don't think would be too hard to do in Pittsburgh, Mississippi.
I mean, so should we start like throwing out stuff that the fact that who also went to Delta State?
Yeah, Pete Golding.
Pete Golding.
Yeah.
Who's the head coach.
Yeah.
And he got his law degree at Ole Miss. I mean, should we start like throwing aspersions his way? Because
I was going to recommend, can you start a Reddit account?
It's a good idea. Since so many people pay so much attention to Reddit, at least in legal documentation.
I enjoyed the Reddit on the Bediaco. That was
There's some good stuff on there.
Some good stuff.
You gotta look for
Whether
it.
you agree with it or not, there's some entertaining.
Absolutely. Yeah, Reddit's great.
All right, when we come back, there's another hearing tomorrow. Joey Aguilar.
Yay.
Can he get a 19th year of eligibility to be the quarterback for the Volunteers? We'll ask Vince Ferrara that question next on Three Man Front. Will Joey Aguilar get another year of college football? Maybe, just maybe. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline from our sister station, the Sports Animal, up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Vince Ferrara joins us here on the program. Vince, I hope you're well. Happy New Year.
Yeah, doing great. Same to you. Yeah, we've become like, uneducated legal analysts doing sports talk these days. It's not as much fun as paying attention to the games, but I guess that's just another layer of the world we're in with NIL, transfer portal, and all the other craziness going on in college athletics.
Well, obviously, we just got off the Charles Bediako beat in which Bediako lost, and we've been following this morning's proceedings over in Mississippi with Trinidad Chambliss. Kind of give us the 411, what you know, what you're expecting tomorrow as Joey Aguilar is looking for an injunction.
Well, I think that is what people are trying to piece together and sort of, read those tea leaves is, can you make any sort of assessment or lean on how the Joey Aguilar situation, and for those that want to know, for Trinidad Chambliss as well, based on how it was ruled in the Charles Bediako case. And all the cases are obviously very different in their approaches, but the game plan was the same, and it was followed in the Chambliss case and in the Aguilar case, where, hey, let's do this in the local courts, and maybe you can get some home court, so to speak, advantage in that. It did not work out that way for Bediako, but I think it's different where you can't make too much of that, because that was the legal system from the jump. The Trinidad Chambliss case started out the NCAA, and then it's gone to the courts. The Joey Aguilar situation is not about the professional ranks, and honestly, the Chambliss isn't either. Bediako's case, his undoing is that he voluntarily gave up his college eligibility, having already played college and then went pro and then tried to get back. With Chambliss, they're trying to use a aspect of his health and being declared and wanting that year back based on his health, and the interpretation of it goes into deeper detail. So can they show, and that's based on like a Mississippi law, so it's crazy the layers of detail they're trying to go to get that year back. And then with Joey Aguilar, it's the initially was, hey, you're just allowing 1 year. You gave us back as junior college players 1 year of eligibility. It should be all years of eligibility. He played multiple. That was the principle of the Pavia case. And then they also utilized and showed, hey, this is Tennessee's holding a roster spot for him. They even detailed how much Tennessee would pay him, and he would be deprived of that as well. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I think this approach is a better chance than what being a part of the Pavia case is. But the best case scenario, guys, it may not be that there's a ruling on this tomorrow, or there may not even be in the Chambliss case. I think maybe the best case scenario would be an injunction, and then the injunction lasts past the season, and then whatever happens in the case after that doesn't matter because you got your year. So it's more than just for or against ruling. It's how they approach it. And that injunction long term, if it takes a while to ever hear it, that might be the best case scenario, because then how they rule it may not matter if the season's already passed and he gets to play.
I'm just trying to get a timeline, Vince, on the Tennessee coaching staff, Josh Heupel, knowing that this was potentially an avenue that they could take at the end of the season. We know that they entertained the recruitment of Sam Levitt. Eventually, he makes the decision to go to LSU, but the ramifications on Joey Aguilar being eligible next year, I'm just looking at the quarterback depth chart. I know that Tennessee has talent, but that would be big and potentially huge for Josh Heupel. How much do you think that line of thinking or the uncertainty of Aguilar being eligible played into their quarterback recruiting, whether it be from the high school ranks or from the transfer portal?
Well, I do think because they did kick the tire on some of the top guys. I mean, even initially on Brendan Sorsby, who eventually went to Texas Tech, I think that price tag was way too high for them because they had so many needs and they were so much more active in the portal than they ever have been under Josh Heupel, where they've averaged about 7, 8 guys bringing in yearly, and they brought in 21. So they really tripled their volume of players they brought in with all of the needs they had. Obviously, change of coaching staff is part of the approach. So I think for the right guy, they would have spent more. And then, in essence, if you do that, if you spend $4+ million on bringing in a transfer quarterback, you've in theory moved on from Joey Aguilar and not willing to wait. But I just think there were a few guys that they were willing to do that for. Supposedly, they didn't, like when they brought in Bo Pribula, they kind of moved on from him, and they weren't willing to do that when, I think it was Austin Price might have said from VolQuest that he wanted to come to Tennessee, but they didn't want to do it, maybe the price tag, whatever the case may be. So that just kind of shows you that, hey, we like what we have, and for some of the elite guys for the right price, we would have done it, but not just anybody. So they knew in the back of their mind that there was a possibility, although it didn't fully run what they were doing, that they could get Aguilar back. And I don't think it's a massive deal. Sure, they'd like to get him back as quickly as possible. He's also recovering from a surgery from a blood clot that he had, and he played through the season. So it's not like if he comes back and is ruled eligible that he's going to be able to practice for a while. And he came in late last year. He knows the offense already. I don't think the timeline to get him back is massive. The two quarterbacks they have that are young and super talented, and George McIntyre's played 2 games and thrown 9 passes in his career last year as a true freshman, and then 5-star incoming true freshman to Faison Brandon. Those guys are going to get all the reps in spring anyway, so I don't think it hampers them. I think they would just like to know from maybe McIntyre especially would like to know, hey, is this still hanging over my shoulder, or is it just us and let's go between him and Faison Brandon?
Vince, let's pivot to basketball. We saw Tennessee up close. Matter of fact, they took out Bediako and the Alabama Crimson Tide at Coleman Coliseum to get a win last night against Mississippi State. So the Vols now 17-7, 7-4 in the SEC. And, of course, Bama has got to make the trip to Rocky Top coming up in the next couple of weeks. Just your thoughts right now on this Tennessee basketball team and your overall assessment of the SEC this year in hoops.
Yeah, and Tennessee part of that logjam at 7-4, as you guys are aware, for 4th place. 5 teams there all tied at 7-4. To summarize this season, I thought that this team would be a little bit better than what they are as we sit right now. Now, to get there, they've had some inconsistencies. They had one of the highest of highs in beating Houston in their pre-conference tournament in Vegas. That's one of the better wins in the country in beating that great Houston team. I think they've only lost one other time since then. And then we've seen them give up double-digit leads to Kentucky twice and just not play great. Tons of turnovers at times. Missing a bunch of free throws. They're, I think, the worst free throw shooting team in the league. Missing bunnies around the rim, easy putbacks at times. Not all the time, but those things would surface. Slide ball turnovers, all these kind of things would just surface, and they wouldn't look great. Look bad in one half and really good in another half. So very inconsistent. It's the most turnover Rick Barnes has had in 1 year, and he didn't have those rock guys in the past, the Zakai Zieglers and the Jemai Mashaks, those kind of guys to kind of bring all the newcomers in, whether it's freshmen or portal guys, together. So that leadership is still developing, that chemistry is still developing, and they're just different. They're more talented offensively and more balanced, but maybe don't have quite the defensive tenacity that most Rick Barnes teams in the past have had. Up and down, when they beat Alabama as part of a 4-game win streak, and then lost to Kentucky, and then bounced back and really handled Mississippi State for the most part last night on the road. So there's I think Florida has set, to get to your question about the league, I think it is Florida and everybody else. I would take them versus the field. I also think that of the teams that aren't playing great, that are not in Florida's category right now. I think Tennessee has the pieces and the talent and upside to continue to get better, to move into that conversation when they're not right now. Maybe in Arkansas as well, because their freshmen are so good there and Cal has postseason experience. But right now, it's Florida and everybody else, and they're just, I think the Big Ten and the Big 12 are ahead of the SEC in national championship contenders right now. But tons of depth, obviously from the middle to the top, and really good teams will have a great number in the tournament. Just not enough at the moment of those elite level teams that you look at and say, hey, that team can get to the Final Four or win it all. Florida, to me, is in that category.
Vince, do want to get your thoughts. Auburn fans getting to know their new head football coach, Alex Golesh. He spent 2 years as the offensive coordinator under Heupel there in Knoxville. Your thoughts on Alex Golesh, the coach, and your thoughts on the fit at Auburn?
Yeah, really like him. I do think it's a really good fit at Auburn. He's got swagger to him that I think Auburn fans will enjoy if they haven't already realized that. And he can win without the elite of talent. Now, I think being at Auburn, he'll be able to get that high level of talent. But USF is my alma mater, so I followed him closely at Tennessee, and then when he was at USF, also, he did a great job down there, and he was key in helping them raise the bar in what they were doing to win, and the facilities and their investment in the program. And I think he will force Auburn to raise the bar in helping him in those type of things. Tennessee fans have missed him the entire time he was at USF, and the offense has not been quite the same since he left. And Josh Heupel gave him a lot of rope to help form the offensive play design, their plan, and in-game calls of plays. Hasn't quite been the same since then. Really smart guy, self-made guy, and I think it's a great hire at Auburn, even though everyone was, so panicked about the players leaving. I think he's an outstanding fit. And oh, by the way, they go to Neyland Stadium just like pretty much every other ex-coach that's out there. Kiffin, they're all coming to Neyland Stadium this year.
It's going to be a hot ticket, especially even the Tide coming up there to Knoxville. Before we let you go, I got to ask you about Tennessee baseball. As baseball's getting ready to get started, Tony Vitello off now. He is the manager of the San Francisco Giants. First off, how surprised were you guys on Rocky Top that he was going to make that jump to Major League Baseball? And what does the Vols look like this year when it comes to baseball?
Yeah, at the time it was surprising, and I'm kind of like the number 2 guy calling Tennessee baseball on the Vol Network, and do a lot of the non-conference and midweek and the home games. And John Wilkerson's a longtime voice of Tennessee baseball, and even he was surprised, and he knows Tony as well as anyone, better than the rest of us. And he was a little bit surprised. But look, it was an opportunity for him to go pro. I think it makes a ton of sense in that, hey, you're hot right now. They want you. If it doesn't work out, guess what? Everybody will be tripping over themselves to bring you back to their program in the college ranks at big time programs. So it's a gamble for sure, but I think he's going to be really good with the Giants. Now, I also think that Tennessee's in really good hands and made the no-brainer hire to elevate their associate head coach in Josh Elander. He's been the key to bringing all this talent in to Tennessee, and they continue to have number 1, number 2, number 3 recruiting classes. They've crushed it in the portal, and they have again this year with some difference makers they brought in. Guys always develop once they come in from other programs. I think they have star power. They're one of the younger teams in the league, but I think they've got a ton of talent, just newer names in orange and white that people may not be aware of. That's why you had the big discrepancy in the preseason polls, anywhere from like 3 to 15. They'll be better as the year goes on, but there is plenty of talent. I don't think you're going to see a big drop-off at all, despite a very different personality in Josh Elander versus, the very animated and Tony Vitella, who certainly got a lot of attention for the way he was so outspoken and the way he handled himself with some Italian fire, which I certainly can appreciate.
Our friend Vince Ferrara from there in Knoxville, a part of Mornings there on the Sports Animal, and of course a part of the Vol Network. Vince, we always appreciate the time. Thank you, and hopefully we'll talk very soon.
Yeah, awesome visiting with you guys. Appreciate it. Great stuff, great show, and look forward to chatting again here soon.
Yep, sounds great. That is Vince Ferrara joining us, as all of our guests do on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
I've told you for the last couple of weeks about this incredible deal at Courtesy GMC in Trussville, and I'm talking about the $399. That's $399 lease and sign. Drive the 2026 Canyon Elevation. They got a few left in stock. They started with 17 now. They've only got a handful remaining. So you need to take advantage of this because a lot of you have. This deal does not come along very often. $399 lease and sign on the 2026 Canyon Elevation in stock. And if you're looking to purchase a new vehicle, they've got over 50 2026 GMC Sierras on the ground, up to $12,000 off MSRP. All trim levels to choose from. And when you buy a new GMC from Courtesy there in Trussville, you get a 7-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty on an all-new GMC. Check out all makes and models on certified and pre-owned vehicles. Matter of fact, right now, they would love to take a look at your vehicle. They would like to purchase that from you. Courtesy is looking for pre-owned inventory to acquire, so just stop by off of I-459 exit 32 in Trussville. It will take 10 minutes. You drive up, they're going to take a look at your car, and they're going to give you an assessment. And within 10 minutes, they're going to give you a dollar number that they will give for your car because they need some vehicles for their pre-owned inventory. So go by and see them off of I-459 exit 32. Check them out online, courtesybirmingham.com.
Takeaways from what Vince just told us. Get your phone calls as well. Thursday edition of Three Man Front rolls on. 12:52, three-man front. Vince Ferrara from there in Knoxville. Joey Aguilar's case set to begin. Trinidad Chambliss, his case began this morning. They're in a Mississippi courtroom. They have broken for lunch, but some interesting quotes coming out of that Mississippi courtroom.
Yeah, Joe Judge was on the stand earlier, and he said that pregnant partners of football players during the season, that the father has to play good football, and this is a direct quote, he needs to be in another room detached. He ain't waking up for midnight feedings. End of quote.
No. And I know that everybody's NIL looks different, but some of those guys, couldn't you hire the nanny? Somebody to take care of the baby in the middle of the night? I would think that you had that kind of budget.
Also, Lane Kiffin is watching very intently what's going on over in Mississippi. He quote tweeted the clip of Joe Judge being told to slow down so that the court stenographer could catch up to what he's saying. Lane Kiffin quote tweeted saying, "Only in the sip."
He so frustrated. He brings it on himself, but why do I get frustrated? I get frustrated for people around him. And at what point have they all gone, you know what? He's going to do it. We can't. Why? Why are you going to tweet that out? You bored? There's nothing going on. You don't have anything. There's nothing to do in Baton Rouge right now in the course of your workday.
The attention is not on him, Landrum.
Yeah.
If the judge, whenever the judge rules, and I think we're all betting very heavily that he is going to get an additional year of eligibility.
I could not have found a more Werther's original warming. He is going to side with Ole Miss judge.
But you can bet your bottom dollar that Lane Kiffin is going to tweet out the emoji of the icon of the flag of Trinidad.
And he's going to take credit for making Trinidad Chambliss the quarterback that he is.
In full support.
Say how great it is for college football that he gets to play for another year and we get to watch him. And oh, by the way, Sam Levitt might miss the first game. You want to come play?
Yeah. What are you doing in week 0?
Yep.
Why was Austin Simmons your starter at the beginning of this season?
Because he was supposed to be the second coming of Tua. Just unfortunately, we got
the
Dolphins
second
version
comings of Tua.
Both made of glass, unfortunately.
They will be back from lunch at 1:30. So we'll try to keep you entertained until 1:30.
You think they went to Tonelli's?
I hope so.
I bet the guy from the NCAA got a salad.